Hey everybody, uh, I'm here. I am traveling. I got my Glarry GJazz Bass here. I have my homemade microphone stand because I didn't pack one. I don't own one, but trying to figure this all out as we go along. And I'm just here to talk about having ownership of this Glary bass for the past 3 weeks now, 3, 4 weeks. And I've made some recordings about with it completely stock. I tuned it out of the box, and that's it. And so I wanted to share some thoughts about it since I've had it for a little bit longer. Um, let's go over some of the finer points of Glary ownership. Um, Number one, if you didn't see my packing video, my unboxing video, it is very well packed when it shows up at your door. I was nervous because Glary's run $85. You think you would be worried that the packaging would be suspect. It was completely encased in foam. I'm actually keeping that box because while I won't be sending this Glary anywhere as far as I can think of, I might use that box for shipping other bases because it's a great box. It is not just wrapped in styrofoam and thrown in a box. It's form fitting styrofoam all the way around. It is lovingly encased so that even if the box takes a beating, there's a good chance your bass will be fine. So I think that's a great thing right there. Um, I've tuned two different sets of strings on this thing, and with these stock tuners, they work great. Um, they might feel a little stiff at times, but they hold tune. They do not seem to slip much. Once the strings have stabilized, I'm doing micro adjustments. That's it. And speaking of that, I have changed the strings on this. I've gone from the stock strings to a set of GHS Boomer lights. I think it's zero point 0.4 to 0.95. Um, so it gives it a slightly different sound, relaxes the tension on the neck, and to that point, I didn't have to adjust the neck at all when I switched the strings out. I now have the saddle set super low. I have the intonation set. It was pretty close before, but now it's perfect. And on both counts, I still have room to spare. If you can see the saddles where they're positioned, I don't have them like cranked all the way back or all the way up. So if I have to reset the intonation or I change the strings again and things get a little bit different, so you have to set the intonation again, I'm not too worried that I'm gonna max out the saddles one way or the other. Um, so overall, as an entry level instrument, and don't doubt that it is an entry level instrument, it is a phenomenal value at $85. That is insane. This is like 10 times better than my first bass that I had to get used, and it was like a Vargas single coil, microphonic doohickey that I I hated the bass. But this bass is a great deal. I would say, for me, I'm going to be using it as a modding platform. I will be including a link in the description here of the build thread on TalkBass where I'll be documenting that process. I'll, of course, make videos too. But also, if you're just a beginner bassist or you've always wanted to pick up a bass, the Glary is a great place to start. It's not like back in the day when I was a kid, and if you got a bottom end bass, you were getting something that was nearly unplayable. This thing is really playable. It may not have all the features and all the hallmarks of quality that you're going to see in a $600, $800, $1,000 bass, but it it's great if you're starting off. It's great if you just need a backup bass, or if you're like me and you're just looking to mod. Now, all of this I'm saying, full disclosure, Glary sent me this bass. I reached out to him. I said, hey, mind if I mod one of your basses and make some videos and, threads about it on TalkBass? And after a while, they said, sure, so I'm not, I have been given this bass, but beyond that, I am not further compensated. And I feel like at this point, since this isn't my career, I mean, really, would you, with a voice like this, would you be doing YouTube videos for a career? But because of that, I'm going to be honest. There are a lot of great things about this bass. There are some things that, if they were to listen to this, I'd hope they'd take into account. For example, the nut. String height is fine, very serviceable. But I found that the edges of the nut were a little sharp. And so I'm traveling right now. I just ran out to Target and I got some emery boards and I just filed down the nut edges, not the actual groove, but the actual corners, so that it's not so sharp and it feels great now. You know, $2 investment and 15 minutes of time plays so much better. The rest of the neck, great. You just feel no fret sprout. You don't even feel the frets unless you push in on over the fretboard. On the side, you can't even determine where they are. That's how good the fretwork is. Like I said, I'm really impressed. Tuning pegs, they do their job. Sure, you could get some lighter ones, but these works absolutely fine. One thing to be aware of with the Glarrys is the bodies are very light. The necks are very heavy. These are, I don't know if they're the chunkiest necks ever, but they are chunkier than a lot of other basses out there. If you're used to a Sound Gear or any other Ibanez bass, other than maybe a Talman, this neck is going to feel very thick to you. So that took a little getting used to, but now, especially now that I have the action lowered, I have these lighter gauge strings, it's incredibly comfortable. At first, I was like, I don't know, I might have to sand back this neck a little bit, but no, I'm fine with it. The only thing I might do is refinish it. It's got a slightly rough finish to it. My usual procedure is to sand back the neck and apply true oil, and but give it a kind of a matte finish so it's not too glossy, not too slippery. But I like a soft matte feel on the neck, so I'll be doing that as part of my mod. But apart from this, the neck is great. The one thing to be aware of, and usually this doesn't bother me, is the neck dive. So yeah, that neck will dive on you. I'm using the stock Glary strap. That's not helping because it's a very slippery material. You get a 3-inch, 4-inch wide strap, not that it's a heavy bass, but because it's going to be made out of leather or something that has a bit more grip to it, so it grips to your shoulder or whatever material you're wearing, as long as it's not silky, you should be fine. It probably won't dive so much. I've just been using everything completely stock with this, so that's one thing I did notice. But usually a strap will rectify this. I'm going to be modding this bass. I'm going to be putting 6 pickups in here instead of the current 2. So I'm going to be adding some weight to the body. That'll probably help a little bit, but we'll see how that goes. Again, I'll include the link in my description for that. So I just want to say that if you are considering buying a Glary, as long as your expectations are not for that of a high-end Fender bass, if you're, I would put this up against a Squire. I would put it up against, an Ibanez Talman. From an affordability standpoint, it is a no-brainer. You could buy this bass and then add features to it, like on the Talman, you might get an active electronics. You could buy this and buy whatever preamp you want, and it'll probably come out cheaper. So that's what I love about modding, is you get an instrument with what I say have good bones, has a good neck, good body, and then you can replace whatever the heck else you want out of it to make the instrument that you want to have, as opposed to buying something that's several $100s, over $1,000, and then you're kind of like, well, this is great, but there's just this one little thing, and you end up having to plunk down more. Why not get something that's usable and then build it up from the ground up? That's why I think these are a great value. So this is my Glary, and I'm pretty excited about what I'm going to be doing with it. So yeah, and it sounds pretty darn good. The electronics are, budget electronics. I think the wiring for the Jazz, for those of you who are, wiring nerds, the wiring is more vintage. I noticed that when you bring both volumes up to full, there's actually a volume dip. Like, for example, here I have my bridge maxed and my neck completely off. And listen to what happens as I bring the neck up. Let me see so you can see what I'm doing here. See that right there? I'm right in that last 5-10%. The volume actually drops, and I think that's got to be some kind of a resistance issue or something with how when you have two different pots wired together for volume and just the balance of it. So it's not something that a beginner is going to worry about. And if you're used to working on instruments, you're probably already thinking, oh, I know exactly how to fix that. So, you buy an $85 bass, and maybe that's all you need to do. So, I would say that if you are in the market for a budget bass or for a modding platform, definitely consider Glary. And I would say that before they even sent me this bass, because I had a friend on TalkBass send me a Glary neck, and he wanted me to pour epoxy over the frets and just see if I could raise the fretboard so it's essentially fretless, but to the height of the frets as opposed to being without frets. So basically the thickness of the overall neck and fretboard was equivalent to, the highest points where a fret is. So, he sent me this neck, and I was very impressed with the quality of it right off the bat. So, yeah, I think it is definitely worth your consideration. So, with that, I'm going to sign off. I'll probably try to do some recordings with the new strings, with the intonation and everything completely spot on the way I like it. And I'll sign off for now. It's been long enough. You've heard enough of me speaking. Thanks for listening and watching.